SIRTOBA Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome. The wait is over.
Let's get this thing started.
Go.
Hello, everyone. We are live for episode 98 of the In or Out Sports Debate. I am your host, Drew Willingham, along with this week's very special returning panelist, a man who was a part of the birth and conception of this show with a streak that no one will more than likely never beat with 11 consecutive episodes. He is a man who has his Game Sports and Entertainment channel with his games that he has looking great. You can look at some of his Madden features as well as some other content on there as well. Check him out on Robb Media with the Forsaken name, as well as at the Legacy Maker Sports Network when it comes to social media. Give it up for Robb Johnson. Welcome back to the show, brother.
Hey, what's going on, Drew? How are we doing tonight on this glorious Monday night? We are here to talk sports here on the SIRTOBA Media presents Drew Willingham's In and Out Sports Debate Show. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing great, man. We are just ahead of SummerSlam this weekend, and we will definitely be discussing that within this show. We have some great topics within there. We have 5 rounds to go. But as always, we have to acknowledge the previous contestants and panelists on this show in the Vault of Fame.
Acknowledge me.
Man, you took me back. This is why this show was so important, and this is why I am personally validating and vouching for this show. If you are anybody in media, sports, professional wrestling, anything, you need to be on In or Out Sports Debate with my man Drew Willingham, because this has got to be one of the most fun things I've ever done in a long time.
Ladies and gentlemen, that there is the In or Out Sports Debate Vault of Fame, which you can find here on the audio platforms listed here on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Prime, as well as at Apple Podcasts and iTunes as well. You can find SIRTOBA Media on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, as well as at SIRTOBA.com, where the struggle is real to be awesome. I am back with Robb Johnson as we have 5 great topics to go over tonight. And without any more delay, we'll go ahead and get that started for you as we take it into some NFL action here for round 1. And with round 1, the slide is pulling up right now.
Round 1.
Excuse me for the technical delay. We are back with round 1 as Justin Herbert did not deserve his new contract. Rob, how do you feel about this one in hand? Are you in or are you out on this one?
On if he deserved his new contract, I am in. For those of you also looking, Rob Johnson Sports Show, episode 18, that comes on tonight at 11:20. That's a little quick promotion. Let me say this about Justin Herbert as well. Justin Herbert is the quarterback of the future. He is a quarterback that the Chargers need in their building. Drew, I think that a lot of people don't really understand that you've got the Rams and you got the Chargers. The difference between those two teams, in my opinion, is light years, because you have a Chargers team who has a lease. A lot of people don't know this. They have a lease on their at the stadium, at the new stadium in Inglewood from 2020 to 2040, meaning they can't leave, meaning they need an attraction. So Even though Justin Herbert, over the years, he has 14,089 yards, 94 touchdowns, and 35 interceptions, he doesn't have that great of a win-loss record. I believe it's only like 4 games that separates his wins and losses, even though he's over 500. The bottom line is, Drew, the reason that he deserves this contract is for one reason. 2 reasons, actually. Next year, the Chargers are going to be $50 million over the cap. They got the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes is going to be there for the next 13 years. Yep. You got to sell tickets in the NFL. You got to be able to sell a fan base. And how are you going to sell to a fan base when you don't have a quarterback? They're going to be, like I said, at that stadium until 2040. They have to have a quarterback that they can sell those fans. And if you don't have a Justin Herbert, then the experience for the Chargers is going to be even worse than it already is. Because, again, they are the stepchild of Los Angeles. They are the New York Jets of Los Angeles. That may change this year. But from a marketing standpoint, you have got to have Justin Herbert, because if you don't, you may not even fill the seats at that stadium, which is already hard for the Chargers to fill.
For the first time in this episode, let's get ready to rumble! AKA, I diss a mother, father, and agree. I am out. Ladies and gentlemen,
Let me talk to you.
when it comes to this topic right here, and Justin Herbert, I have said it in several episodes of the past on this flagship show of the SIRTOBA Media Network. When it comes to that, and it comes to any quarterback that was born in 1998 or later, I do not trust you. Now, Patrick Mahomes was born in 1995. Pat Mahomes has proven that he is a legend, as he has won 2 Super Bowls and is MVP numerous times as well, and is a growing legend within this era of football. Justin Herbert's been okay. But as I said, Justin Herbert was born in 1998. And when it comes to quarterbacks 1998 or later, they haven't really done much to prove to me that they are worthy of being an elite quarterback in the NFL. When it comes to Justin Herbert this past season, gets to the playoffs. Good job, buddy. You did a great job by getting to the playoffs. But you lost in the wild card game to a team that just had Urban Meyer as their mother, father, and coach not long before that. And it took one change at the coaching position with Doug Peterson to come in and make the Jaguars relevant again. And you saw what happened with them this year. They were not a team to be taken lightly, but the team with the Chargers can be taken lightly because their past has proven that they have not been an elite franchise that is worthy of winning Super Bowl championships. I don't believe he deserved that short little contract with all that money, because he gets to the game and loses, and in the fashion that he did. I just don't have the faith in Justin Herbert. I feel like there's better talent out there that you can get that, might be born after 1998, but still wouldn't have as big of a price tag as Justin Herbert has.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem with this question. This is a loaded question. I personally would say out, but the problem is, Drew, who in the world would you get? Answer that for me. Who would you get to actually market that team? That team is in the Los Angeles market. We know how hard it is to play football in Los Angeles. Who do you have? I mean, he's got the look, he's got the the image for it. The thing that I don't like about Justin Herbert is going back to Oregon. Did you see his games at Oregon? Let me ask you that. Did you see his games at Oregon?
No.
Okay, go back to his games at Oregon. The same kind of mellow look he has now. Oh, okay, I'm just here. I'm talented. That's how it was at Oregon. That's why he's this type of quarterback. And you're right, Drew. I'm so glad you brought that point up. You brought up a great point. Remind the people, Drew, how many points the Chargers were about. Remind them.
I forget the exact total off the top of my head, but I know the game ended 31-30, and I know that they should have won that game. I just don't remember the exact number off the top of my head.
Well, I'm glad you don't remember, because if I tell you, your head's gonna blow. It was 27-0.
I knew there was a big. I didn't remember that it was 27-0. I thought it was like 27-7 or something like that, but I didn't know it was 27-0.
27-0. He ended up throwing the ball. He ended up throwing the football 43 times when he didn't even have to throw it that many times.
Oh, it's kind of like when the Atlanta Falcons could have just kneeled the rest of the game and won that Super Bowl. Very similar situation, yeah.
But, and I know we're getting a little off topic here, but starting with that Super Bowl, with that playoff game, that's the biggest reason why the devaluing of running backs has happened. Because coaches want to be heroes. Speaking of heroes, Justin Herbert, he plays hero ball. However, here's the thing, Drew. He has the look again. He has the marketability. But you know what his record is? 25-24. Now, I know guys like Dak. I know guys like Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is a Hall of Famer. He's way better than Dak Prescott. But you got a lot of guys they talk about, they criticize. Could you imagine if some of these quarterbacks had a 25-24 record? And, Drew, let's not act like the Chargers don't have talent, sir. Let's not act like the Chargers had not won. Let's not act like the Chargers had not won that playoff game, that they're not going far in the playoffs last year. So, like I said, this is a loaded question. But going towards the markability, I say I'm in, but I'm telling you, I was really close to saying out. I think the Chargers, again, are in for a rude awakening. And remember that number I gave you. Next year, $50 million. They are over the cap. So they're going to lose players. So we're going to see how great Justin Herbert really is.
No, you make some great points with that too, and I was kind of back and forth on it, but I still am not giving up on my take of any quarterback born 1998 or later, because when it comes to the talent pool that have come from that, I'm just not high on them yet. But before we go to the next round, because this is one thing I've got to tell you in the green room, we've been acknowledging the comments throughout the show instead of taking long breaks in between with the middle and the end to acknowledge all the comments. And Ike is in the house, says, "Yo, episode 98, Robb is back." Says, "Let's go." We also have Mickey Delaney in the house from Facebook saying, "Hi, Drew Willingham. Hi, Rob Johnson. How are you both?" Well, for myself, Mick, I'm doing pretty great today. How about you?
Kicking butt as usual.
Yeah.
Hey, just kicking butt as usual. Trying to be the best that I can be, and except I'm not in the Army, thank God.
Or the reserve.
I got
Ricky,
I can't do that.
Ricky says the Chargers, they're the Clippers of the NBA. That's a really good point. What do you think about that, Rob?
You know, that's a good point. That is a really, really good point. But you know, I can't even give him that much credit. Because at least the Clippers draw in Los Angeles. I mean, when is the last time you saw somebody in LA saying, "Hey, I want to go see the Chargers today"?
I have never in my lifetime heard anybody get pumped to go watch a Chargers game, or, well, not to that back. When LT was playing, there was some noise going to go watch Charger games, okay? Because LT was special, or at least in our era.
Let's be honest about that, though. All that kind of went away when they were 14-2 and lost to the Patriots, right? Like, this is some painful stuff. You're a Chargers fan. Put some earmuffs on. Lost to the Patriots. They fired Marty Schottenheimer just like the Commanders fired him after the first season. In their AFC Championship game where they were playing against the Patriots, LT is on the sideline with his helmet on, looking like a Power Ranger, and Phillip Rivers is playing on the field with a torn ACL, trying his hardest to get to the Super Bowl. So, yeah, I mean, I'll say that. I'll say this. Oh, no. I'll change that, Rick. At least the Chargers have been to a Super Bowl. When was the last NBA Finals the Clippers have been to? So I can't really give them that.
You really can't. Latina and Cali says, "I've been waiting and I'm 14 minutes late." It's all good, Latina and Cali. We appreciate you showing up here on the show and being here in the comments as we've gone through round one to talk some NFL action with Justin Herbert. We're going to move this into round two and talk some college athletics for round two.
Round two.
Had to use this graphic right here because they are part of this whole move. When it comes to Colorado moving back to the Big 12 is a good move. How do you feel about this one in hand, Rob? Are you in or out on this topic right here?
I'm so in, I could go play the lottery. Ladies and gentlemen, let me be clear when I say this. The Pac-12 is a great conference. There's a great possibility we're going to lose the Rose Bowl as that traditional bowl game because we are out here doing certain things like, I don't know, adding teams to the playoff where an SEC team will have 7 losses and still get in, etc. But getting to Colorado, Deion Sanders was the right move for Colorado. The Pac-12 coaches, however, and coaches around the country wanted to come at Deion Sanders. So now, what does Deion do? They move back to the Big 12. They were originally a part of the Big 8. If you go talk to Snowman, he'll tell you about how he loved the Big 8. But from, I believe, from 38 to 95, and then from 95 to 2012, they were in the Big 12. They won a national championship with new Washington Commanders offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy. They were a power for a long time. They beat the once unbeatable Nebraska, actually ended the Nebraska dynasty, in my opinion, after they beat them and then Miami shredded them back in 2001. This is a great program, great tradition. I think this is a great move because the Pac-12 is dying. The Pac-12 says, we don't want to play these FCS opponents. We want to stand out. And what happens, Drew, when they try to stand out? What happens? Oregon had a great season last year, right? But Georgia beat them 42-3. They play teams like Ohio State. They beat them. Well, let me take that back. Ohio State did lose to Oregon a few years back. But overall, the Pac-12 is not what they used to be. And Drew, 2 key factors. You lose UCLA. Ladies and gentlemen, you lose your 2 prominent California teams, USC and UCLA. They are willing to take a plane from Southern California to Rutgers. When you're telling me that you are willing to take a plane from Southern California to Rutgers, that lets me know that your conference stinks. Okay? So in the Pac-12, I'm going to read you the records and I'm done. I will give the floor to you. Since they joined the Pac-12 in 2011, here is the record for the Colorado Buffaloes. This goes from 2012 up to 2022, Drew. 3-10, 1-11, 4-8, 2-10, 4-9, 10-4. They got destroyed in the Pac-12 championship game, though, by Washington. 5-7, 5-7, 5-7, 4-2, 4-8, and 1-11. Wouldn't you want to get out that conference too, Drew?
Absolutely. You make some great points when it comes to this topic right here. I do not disagree with you at all. I'm in on this. You know, besides the whole element to what primetime is going to bring to the Colorado football team, I mean, this affects more than just football and sports when it comes to collegiate sports here in college. Rob mentioned all of those terrible records within that conference at one point that is now going to shift once this officially takes place and sports are played and the moves are officially taking place, because it's going to be 2024 before we see the actual moves take place.
Yes.
So it's not going to be at all during this season. Unfortunately, they are where they're at to finish off the rest of this 2023 year. But starting in 2024, there's going to be some changes. Colorado making this move, it's going to be a good impact and jolt for this school's program for multiple sports, not only just with football, but basketball and baseball, whatever. You know, you think about them all, put them all on paper, it's definitely going to make an impact. And it was time for a change, not only in like the coaching positions and different sports, but and within different moves and different things being made within this division, but for Colorado in general to bring in primetime during the offseason. I know he had the health scare, had to go into the hospital for a little bit with the blood clot and stuff, but other than that, his energy that he's going to bring to this program, it's going to be a positive impact in 2024. Now, unfortunately, only one of his 2 sons will be a part of that move, as his quarterback, his son, Shadur, will be there, but Shiloh won't, because this is his senior season that he'll be stuck playing in the old conference. But when it comes to overall sports and the health of things going forward, I definitely agree with this move. I agree with Colorado moving into the Big 12. So,
well, here's the other problem. You have people saying, well, Texas and Oklahoma are leaving. Well, that's on them because they're just going to get beat for the next 10 to 15 years. So let me give you some names of teams in the Big 12. You got TCU, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech. Still, you have Kansas, West Virginia, Baylor, and Iowa State, and Oklahoma State, and Oklahoma State. You have some really good teams in that conference. And I would love to see the Big 12 add Houston. That's one team that I think that they have got to add in the next few years is a Houston. The Big 12 to me is still a very good conference. You're going to get, and I forgot to mention a Kansas State. You're trying to tell me that people are not, I know from my perspective, I gravitate to the Big 12. I want to see those Colorado and Kansas State games. But I'll give you another element, Drew, that I think that will make this deal complete. If they can get it done. If they can somehow get Nebraska back to the Big 12, and you have the Nebraska-Colorado game the day after Thanksgiving again, and you make that a rivalry, make it the patriarch of your conference, they got something. And this helps their TV deal because guess what? People are going to want to watch. Think about it. People had Jackson State on primetime. People wanted Jackson State before they wanted some of the huge college, quote-unquote, huge college programs of Division I football. So now that you have Deion Sanders with a bigger budget, he's got more backers, bigger pockets, what do you think he's going to do?
He's going to be making positive impacts within this because he not only has the deeper pockets, but he also has connections within the higher parts of the game as well. So I think this is going to be huge for them starting this off the season. And it's going to be a big move for them going into 2024 for them to actually start off in a different conference and go back to what they used to call home. We've got some comments here to acknowledge before we go into the next part of the show. And it looks like we've got Latina and Callie saying Ike doesn't give a fuck, and he's excited to see him in the comments there. Ike getting a little bit fresh, it looks like, saying, hello, ma'am. Welcome back to the fun. Well, didn't know that you were so nice in the comments there, Ike. I don't think primetime will have as much of a positive impact as everyone thinks. What do you think about that, Rob?
I don't give a fuck.
Ike doesn't give a fuck.
He doesn't give a fuck. I'm trying to watch him, trying not to curse. I think he's going to have a great impact. Look at the impact he's already had. Listen, Drew, how much worse can you get than 1-11? If you win 2 games, if you win 3, hell, if you win 5, that's better than 1.
Yeah.
It's like going to a Playboy mansion. You're sitting over there and you got 1 model, but then all of a sudden you got 7. That's better, right? You got 7 around at you. You got options. You don't really have many options with 1. Now, if they go out there and they lose all their games this year, it may get a little ugly, but I doubt that very seriously. They got the quarterback, they got the defense, they have every element. So he's going to have an impact, and he's gotten rid of all the trash that was that 1-11 trash last year. So they're going to be better.
And he brought a huge portion of that Jackson State team over with him to Colorado. And if they play anything close to what they played like at Jackson State, everything is going to trend upward here for this team. And
the training those guys are going through is whew. I feel sorry for those guys. That looks like the training I used to do for AAU. Those guys are training. They're putting those guys through the ringer. And you got to think about the altitude as well. I saw videos, guys throwing up, guys are getting sick. But hey, you want to win football games, you got to play hard. You got to have, and that's the positive impact. I think things are a little bit too easy at Colorado. I think that when you're losing and you're not really doing well in life overall, I think sometimes you just tend to relax. Oh, okay, the norm, whatever. But sometimes you got to get uncomfortable. And I think that there's an uncomfortability that's a great thing right now in Colorado. We're not going to do things the way we're used to. We're going to do things my way, or guess what? I'll send you to the portal. And he's proven that.
You got a good point there, Ike. We disagree with your thought, but it's okay. You know, it's okay to have difference of opinion out here. And he comes back and says, I disagree, guys. It's a bad move, and I give a fuck about this, he says. Well, good use of your name, I guess, Ike. That was
I'm proud of you, Ike. Great job, buddy.
Yeah, that was pretty creative. I got to give you that one to give a fuck. That was great. And he says, screw Cornhuskers. So he doesn't agree with your take on bringing Nebraska into the Big 12. What do you think about Ike's thoughts on screwing the Huskers?
I think that it's a great move to bring them back to the Big 12 because it's Nebraska. Anybody I was born in the 80s, but I mean, anybody from the 70s, 80s, 90s understand what that brand means to college football. It's like Alabama. It's like any other brand. Florida, Miami, Nebraska used to be the creme de la creme of college football. And when Nebraska's better, college football is better. Like you look at Major League Baseball. Why does everybody think, why do you think Major League Baseball is getting higher ratings this year? Why do you think it's back to where it is? Because you got teams like the Big Red Machine, the Reds, who are in contention, who could win a division. These are important names. Nobody wants to see the Brewers in the World Series, man. We want to see teams like Nebraska, Florida, Miami, Oklahoma. We want to see those big name teams. No offense to the smaller guys, but this is also a business, ladies and gentlemen. Colorado is a brand. Believe it or not, I know I read off the numbers. Colorado's a brand. Nebraska is a brand. People want to see those. The committees want to see those names. They are important to the game from a financial standpoint and from a business standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. And this.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
So take it back, Ike. Take it back, as we have another comment here. They're all screwed due to politics, says Latina in Cali. How do you feel?
Okay, Latina A in California. Let me tell you something, buddy. Politics have been around since the beginning of time. In 1872, it was a dude that was telling somebody that it's about to snow. So he told everybody to come on and buy everything at his grocery store. But guess what? It is snow for the next 6 months, buddy. Politics have been around forever. Go back to any presidential election. I challenge. See, that's the problem. See, I'm going to tell you, Drew, let me get on my soapbox for a second. The problem in today's culture is we think that nothing ever existed before today. Like you old folks out there talking about, we used to scrap. We never used to shoot. They were shooting in the 90s. They were shooting in the 80s. They were shooting in the 70s. They were shooting in the 60s. Hell, they were shooting back to the Revolutionary War. Stop telling us what. Listen, folks, there are things that happen today that happened then. It's just that they happen in a different way. We got more technology. Ain't nothing changed. Politics gonna always be around. Politics is always, like I mentioned, the Big 8. They moved to the Big 12. College football. Everybody will adjust. Do I hate the fact it's a playoff? Yes. But guess what? You all still gonna watch. Everybody was talking about Colin Kaepernick. He took a knee in the NFL ban. I'm so upset. Brother man. Y'all still watching, ain't you? You still patronizing the product, right? Get it together. One more thing. Everybody wants to act like Gandhi. Everybody wants to act like Gandhi, but ain't willing to do Gandhi. The Gandhi sacrifices. So until then, shut the hell up.
You can't handle the truth.
Says Rob Johnson when it comes to the comments. Thank you guys for the comments so far through 2 rounds of this show. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we'll take you into round 3 to discuss some baseball action. We'll see you on the other side here in about 2.5 minutes.
SIRTOBA Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
And now a word from a non-accredited sponsor. This episode of the In or Out Sports Debate is brought to you by Peanut Butter and Jealous. When you're feeling a little blue based on what others are doing around you, spread a little peanut butter and jealous on your sandwich to make yourself feel whole again. Yeah. But hey, that was last year. And what did he do? He was out.
Right. And now he's in.
But he's been out for an entire year. It's not, you can't think he's going to make the same impact that he did before he was suspended.
I'm telling you, he won't have to.
What? See how is he going to keep his phone down and not make bets?
What?
Come on, man.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, look. Hey, stop playing games. Y'all already know. Go ahead and toss him some Willie Bucks. Ain't nobody playing around. Hey, $sign DWillie87. Go ahead and hit him up on the Cash App and go ahead and give him some Willie Bucks. Look at Drew looking stoic, ladies and gentlemen. Stoic on that $10 bill. So go ahead, slide my man over some Willie Bucks, and we good. That's all I'm saying. We good. Some Willie Bucks.
SIRTOBA Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Welcome back to a show where we have just as many commercials as a TNT broadcast, the Sports Sensates Unleashed.
I hate you, Joe.
SIRTOBA Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the In or Out Sports Debate. We are back after a commercial break, and now we have round 3 to go into. Let's go ahead and see what we got in store for that one.
Round 3.
And here for round 3, the Los Angeles Angels should start a rebuild this offseason. How do you feel about this one at hand there, Rob? Do you agree with the statement? Are you in or are you out on this one?
You know, Drew, when we proposed this question, there's something I think that I should have taken into account. I should have told you this. But you know what? At first, I was going to say I was in. I was going to say I was in on this topic for the whole team. But I'm in on this topic, but for Mike Trout. I'll explain it after. Ladies and gentlemen, and I'm being very serious here, baseball is a great sport. One of my loves. One of my first sports I ever played in my life. Played t-ball. Then played baseball. I played baseball one time on a dislocated kneecap, and I kept playing because I wanted to play until I had to stop. That's how much I love the game of baseball. But ladies and gentlemen, do you remember what happened last year? Drew, if I can put you on the screen.
Okay. I'm back.
Do you remember that team? Remember that team who made the World Series? They lost the World Series, but do you remember that team who won the World Series last year? I mean, who played in the World Series last year? Being those Philadelphia Phillies?
Yeah, we did not think we're going to get there, at least that far. We're very critical of on several episodes of the show.
And what guy on that team have I been critical of over the last decade?
Oh, Mr. Beard?
Yeah, Mr. Bryce Harper.
Mr. Beard.
Did Mr. Bryce Harper show up last year in the postseason?
He did.
He showed up, right?
He did. I mean, it finally showed up.
Exactly. One thing you know about me, Drew, I am fair and balanced. But this is the thing that I need everybody to understand. The reason I'm bringing all this up is this. There is a current player that everybody touts as the greatest, and Mike Trout. He'll be back very, very soon. And just so happens, ladies and gentlemen, because, we bring the stats on these shows. It just so happens that the Angels are what, Drew? 5 games out of the lead in the AL West. It just so happens that the Angels are up 2-1 right now on the hot Atlanta Braves. It just so happens that the Angels have won 7 out of their last 10 games. The reason I bring all this up, ladies and gentlemen, is because of this. If the Angels get to the postseason, or they somehow can make the playoffs, and Mike Trout does not show up, you get rid of him. Because I've been thinking to myself, ladies and gentlemen, I've been thinking this. Why not rebuild this whole team? Why not just restart and everything? But this team is actually starting to show promise. And Mike Trout ain't there. That tells me something. Because when he's there, guess what, Drew? Guess what they're not doing?
Not winning.
They're not winning. So somewhere along the line, Drew, something is there. Just like I told you last year with Bryce Harper. I said something is there until he proved us wrong and did it the right way. He finally came back and did it the right way. What I'm saying is I'm in. If they can make a run here and Mike Trout comes and doesn't do his job, get him out of there. I got another minute or so. Okay, got me. Yeah. I'm good. Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna tell you guys, because another thing is the Seattle Mariners are right on the heels of the LA Angels. So this is why this is so critical, ladies and gentlemen. Starting tonight, which is July the 31st, can't believe we're already in August. Starting tonight, they have the Atlanta Braves. Let me read off their schedule for you guys. 2 more games against the Braves, a huge set against the Mariners, 4 games. They got 3 games against the Giants, 3 games at the Astros, 3 at the Rangers, versus the Rays, versus the Reds. That's a 6-game stretch, 3-3. Then they get a break with the Mets for 3 games. Then they got to go to Philadelphia as they go into September. You go into September, who do they have, Drew? They have the Athletics. Then after that, they have the Orioles for 3 games. Then the Guardians. Then at the Mariners for 3 games. You get the Tigers, at the Rays, at the Twins, versus the Rangers before you end the season with 3 games at the Athletics.
Right.
Drew, basically what I'm saying is this. If this team makes the playoffs, they're going to have to earn it. However, that schedule is daunting, but if you are a Mike Trout and you come back from injury, you got to deliver. Because if you don't, yes, I'm in. They should start a rebuild, but that rebuild should be around Ohtani. Mike Trout, as big as his name is in Los Angeles and Anaheim, he's got to go.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up some very solid points with this, and I thought based on the moves that they had made, you were going to go out, but I'm going to agree with you on this. I agree. They should definitely be in on the top. All right, people, it's time to bring the fire back.
Let me talk to you.
It comes to this team right here, the LA Angels. They have been known for their dumpster fire contracts over the years. Look at the contracts, especially Shohei Ohtani, who was nearly 13% of the payroll. Then on the injured list right now, you got Anthony Rendon, who's on the injured list, who is nearly 17% of your mother, father, and payroll. Okay. Then you've got Mike Trout, who Rob just mentioned, who is nearly 16% of your payroll. When you've got these 3 individual players who are nearly half of your entire mother, father, and payroll, and you are not in first place, and you got a team in the same division in the Texas Rangers who have been making the moves that they've been making during this trade deadline. We're not even completely at the deadline yet, and they got Max Scherzer in there, who's a former Cy Young, okay? And with what he's done in the past and the teams that he's played on, okay? He's a World Series champion. He is a proven individual. He is someone who brings leadership within the clubhouse, and Texas is in first place in the division at 60-46. Now, they only have a 1-game lead over the Houston Astros, and the Angels are behind them. But the Angels are 5 games back against 2 teams, and one of them, the Astros, who've been proven as 2-time World Series champions within the past half-decade. Texas has flirted with championship aspects when it comes to what they did 10 years ago when they had Josh Hamilton and the other players then. But things are different now, and it's a different team, and they have made the investments to get back to that glory of reaching the World Series, but not only reach it, but win. And in the same division, when you got the Houston Astros and what they've done over the last half decade, and then you want to be the Angels, who have been known for their horrible contracts, because you had Albert Pujols and with what he did, and you saw that he left, went back to his old team, and took less money on a veteran deal for his final year to ride it out, get to 700 home runs, but then also was a part of a team that wasn't overspending on talent, that didn't have a situation like I just mentioned, where you have 3 players that pretty much account for your entire payroll, and you still have 20 to 25 other people on an active roster that you got to pay on top of that within a budget, okay? Now, you don't have as much of a cap as they do in other sports. It's a little bit more open, but when you think of your entirety of your payroll being played to 3 players, and only 2 of them, and 2 of those 3 are on the injured list right now at a very critical point in the season, there were talks about trading Ohtani. Ohtani might not even re-sign this offseason. And if he does, that percentage of your payroll is going to be higher than what it is now, where he's only accounting for, I said nearly 13%. It's 12.73% of the payroll is what Shohei Ohtani equates for. And if he does re-sign this offseason, that could go up to potentially 18 to 20% of your payroll. he may take a pay cut to go somewhere else where he could have a little bit more success. Because when you think of what the Rangers are doing this season, and you think of what the Houston Astros have done, and they are still in contention to keep that dynasty going because they're only one game out right now at the end of July, you can't really go all in on the Angels, especially when you think of the moves they made during this deadline. It wasn't nearly as big of the Max Scherzer pickups. They did make some moves to try to stay relevant, but you're still 5 games out. Anything can happen in the next 6 weeks, but I'm not putting all my money in on the Angels, and I feel like they are going to have to rebuild this offseason, because if Shohei Ohtani says, screw this, and I'm out of here and go somewhere else, and you got a 31-year-old Mike Trout now, a 32-year-old Mike Trout next year, that's already coming off of injuries of the past and what he's already going to be equating for because he's still on next year's payroll. Would you come back if you were Shohei Ohtani? Would you can go somewhere else and potentially get some World Series championships and not waste your time like Albert Pujols did? That's got to be weighing on the back of your mind.
Well, let's dive into this a little more. See, it's crazy how you can actually rebuild a team, then get better. By trying to get rid of Rendon, getting rid of Trout, they would be better. They could bring in. But here's the problem with the Angels as well, Drew. When you were at the trade deadline, you trade Ohtani, you get back. I mean, look at the situation that's going on right now in D.C. The Nationals potentially got a better player. I'm not saying that C.J. Abrams is better than Juan Soto, but I watched C.J. Abrams in person. That guy is different. He's amazing. And now it's funny because now you may have Soto go back to Washington possibly, and they stole the whole deal, right? So the thing is that if you are, and I'm not saying that Ohtani would have left and came back, but just think about that. Think about Ohtani being traded, right? And say, hey, Ohtani, listen, you go be a rental. Don't sign, come back. I know this is tampering, right, Drew? I know this is tampering. I know that this is illegal. But say, hey, look, go to Milwaukee. Let's get a bunch of their prospects, or go here or go there. Let's get a bunch of their prospects, and then on the offseason, come back and sign here. But the Angels, as we see, Drew, they're just not that intelligent. They are truly not angels in the outfield, because angels in the outfield actually have brains. These guys have brains of that snake who that snake was pretty intelligent when he got Adam and Eve to bite the apple. But you get what I'm saying. They're just not that intelligent. They're not that intelligent, right? So my thing is this. If you're the Los Angeles Angels, you have the Yankees in front of you and the Red Sox. Drew, is there any reason that the Angels should be afraid of the Yankees and Red Sox right now? I mean, think about it, Drew. To get in the playoffs, you have to have 59 wins. That's how many wins that the Blue Jays have. You had a payroll that is astronomical, and you can't win 59 games? Come on. I want everybody to think about this. Look at the talent the Angels have. By the way, they're up 3-1 on the Braves. They've won 7 out of the last 10. You don't have the talent to get to the playoffs? 59 wins? That's crazy to me.
It is. And especially when you think about how things were a few years ago, the Orioles have built one hell of a farm system in what they've done.
Thank you.
Yes, they built it up over there. I'm happy to see Baltimore actually up at the top of the division for the first. It's been 40 years, Rob, since they won the Mother, Father, and World Series. It is wild that we are talking about the Yankees in last place after what they've done for so many years.
I don't know if I said it in the group chat last year. I don't know if I said it online. I don't know where I said it. What did I tell Yankees fans about Aaron Judge? He's too big. He's 6'7", 280. We are seeing his demise. We are seeing that, and he has a toe issue. We just did a topic on Colorado, and I'm being serious here. Go ask Deion Sanders what toe issues do for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and he lost a toe. So yeah. I mean, he got him amputated. So yeah,
So that's the thing. What did the Yankees have? I mean, what did the Yankees and Red Sox have that the daggone Angels don't have to not get to the playoffs? Come on now. There's no, honestly, Drew, I'm gonna keep it like this. There is no excuse the Angels should not make the playoffs. There is no excuse. And if they don't make the playoffs, blow this thing up. I'm talking about the players, the coaches, the GM, the guy, the owner. Get rid of it. Just get rid of it. There's no reason.
Latina Callie says, I'm here to be entertained by Drew to Ike. They were having a conversation in there. I didn't want to throw everything up there because you guys kind of went in depth in there, but she's saying that the politicians are daring us.
Daring us. I mean, they're not daring us. Somebody just came out and said, well, I have CIA connections and they're aliens. Dude, we known this. It's like, so what are they going to tell us next? The Saudis were, never mind.
The battle to 1946 Battle of Athens, Tennessee. They're retardant.
Oh, I can't say that word online. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I don't want to think the world.
Well, I mean, the way she worded it, I guess, was okay and usable for this. So I'm going to give you that one, Latina. Does Drew Puts on Fire Productions? Well, thank you, Ike. Yeah, for some reason, you're sucking up to me. You're usually not like that. You're usually a troll when it comes to that.
You have to click
the comments tab, or else you will see some of the chat comments. Okay. Well, definitely appreciate the heads up on that, you guys. Before we go into round 4, I want to show you some breaking news that we have because we've got a special one tomorrow, just like for today. And that breaking news is this. Tomorrow, episode 99 of the In or Out Sports Debate takes place at 8:05 p.m. Eastern Time, same time as tonight, as Wise El Jefe from Snowman in the Morning crew, as well as in his own Real Wise Productions and Stuck in My Mind podcast, will be joining me for tomorrow's episode 99 as we close out on 100 episodes that we will be hitting a 1 week from today. And tomorrow we'll announce who will be a part of episode 100. Thank you guys for tuning in as we've been on the road to 100. And Rob has been one big part of that as well. We got 2 more rounds to go to. Let's go ahead and see what we got in store for the By the Number segment for round 4.
Round 4.
And here with round 4, the By the Numbers for episode 98. LeeRoy Yarbrough is the greatest athlete to ever wear the number 98 in all of sports history. Whether you know him or not, how do you feel about this one, Rob? Are you in or are you out on this one?
I was almost in because, just the things he's done. 14 wins, 92 top 10s, and 10 polls. Tragic injury he had, but I'm sorry, I can't do this. I'm out. I like the name LeeRoy too. It reminded me of the time I was watching Rescue 911 93 and they were yelling LeeRoy to get out the house because the house was burning. But I don't know why that's stuck in my mind, but every time I don't know, Drew. You gotta go back and watch. It was with what's the guy's name? Schaefer from Star Trek. What's his name from Star Trek?
I can't think of it right now.
Yeah, but they were like LeeRoy. I'm like, LeeRoy, get out the house, you bastard. But anyway, I can't get that image out of my head. It's like, how you watch those shows in the 90s, you just can't get out your head. Everything's unforgettable. But no, I'm gonna go with another 98, Drew, and I think that you may know this name. This is a very underrated player. When you think about the Indianapolis Colts in their era with Peyton Manning, you don't really think too much about defense. You know about Dwight Freeney. You know about Bob Sanders. But I'm going to give you a guy, Robert Mathis. I almost went with Jesse Armstead. Here because Jesse Armstead was a terrific player, not only at the University of Miami, but he really did some great things. Jesse Armstead was feared. He was feared when he played with the Giants against a lot of teams. But I picked Robert Mathis because he was a 5-time Pro Bowler. He was a 1-time All-Pro. Do you know, Drew, that he led the NFL in forced fumbles in 2004, 2005, and 2013? In his glory career, he has over 54 forced fumbles. Folks, I don't think you understand just how much it takes the soul of a football player to have them fumble. Think about a running back who fumbles, a wide receiver, a quarterback. When you fumble the ball, that means somebody hits you so daggone hard that you could not hold on to the one thing that is your livelihood, which is the pigskin. So I'm going with Robert Mathis here. I think he is a great player. I don't think he gets the credit he deserves all time. He has 530 tackles career, 123 sacks, 108 tackles for loss. And again, the NFL record for forced fumbles, 54. Not Ray Lewis, not Reggie White, not blah, blah, blah. It's Robert Mathis, a 5th-round pick to the Indianapolis Colts.
You know, Rob, you threw some really great points, and it's not like I forgot about Robert Mathis. I remember his tenure there at Indy, but you bring up some great points to remind me that he was definitely impactful for someone who wore 98. I disagree with this topic, but for different reasons. We're on the same page as far as disagreeing it, but I have a different person in mind. I'm out as well. Before I give my take on who I picked, I at least want to give some due diligence to the person I chose as the main topic for this one, that being LeeRoy Yarbrough. And Rob definitely touched on this when it came to his head injury. In a hard test crash in April of 1970 at the old Texas World Speedway in College Station, Texas left him disoriented because he had an actual injury during that test crash that he never recovered from and was never able to pick up where you left off, as he was definitely having a great end to the 60s, as he did have some runs with him there where he was picking up some wins, as Rob mentioned earlier. But the way that LeeRoy Yarbrough went out February 1980 while watching TV with his mother, he flipped out just out of nowhere and said that he hates to do this to you, but then began to start to strangle his own mother as they were watching TV after that head injury, that a nephew had to hit him over the head with a jelly jar in order to get him off, and called the rescue 911, I guess you could say at that point, and took him off to the mental institution, where he stayed for another 2 years before he passed away of his disease that he had succumbed to due to his injury that he had from 1970. It lingered on from that long, but LeeRoy definitely during his tenure was a pretty good race car driver, probably one of the best to use 98 in NASCAR, I would say. But when it comes to overall scope of who wore 98, Rob had a very good pick when it came to Mr. Mathis there. But when my pick that I have, it came down to 2 people, and it was tough. And when I did my research, I was looking at Tom Harmon, who I've got at number 2, who played with the LA Rams for only 2 years. But during his tenure, even in college, he won the Heisman Trophy and the Maxwell Award. It was the Associated Press Player of the Year, Big Ten Most Valuable Player. But that's why I got him at 2, because he didn't play long enough for me to actually have him at 1. And LeeRoy Yarbrough probably was a little bit higher than him when it came to the impact of a sport who wore 98. But my number 1 who wore 98 did play for the Indianapolis Colts, like Rob had mentioned, for his player, and played there for 7 seasons before he went to the Baltimore Ravens and won a Super Bowl 2000 as a defensive tackle, and that being Tony Siragusa. Absolutely.
I was so close. Listen, I was so close to doing that. That is a great pick. Absolutely great pick.
I had to give it to the Goose. The Goose was a huge impact to that defensive line. If it wasn't for Tony Siragusa being on that team, I can't say that they wouldn't have won, but their chances would have definitely diminished, because he was one of the anchors of that defense. Because you all know, with Trent Dilfer being the mother, father, and quarterback during that season, there's no way that him alone leading that offense is going to take them to the playoffs, let alone the Super Bowl, and win it all. The defense carried that team there. And it wasn't Tony Siragusa himself that really carried that defense, but his leadership, as he was a veteran at that point, going into year 10, 11 at that point when they made it to the Super Bowl. So I have to give it to Tony Siragusa. I have to give him his credit there. And when it comes to the best to wear 98, in my opinion, I got to give it to the Goose.
Let me say this. I'm going to tell you why that pick is so important. And I was very close to picking Siragusa. Full disclosure, I was so close to picking him. I don't think people really understand this, right? Ray Lewis coming off the murder trial. Well, the murder situation that happened in Atlanta. Tony Siragusa's leadership. When you watch the Baltimore, I'll say this. The Baltimore Ravens 30 for 30 was probably the most boring 30 for 30 I've ever seen. I wasn't a fan of it. I was not a fan of it. You know the most entertaining part of that? Tony Siragusa.
Yes.
Tony Siragusa was not only good on the sidelines, he was good on the field. People have to go back and look at that Ravens team and when they won a Super Bowl. No offense to the Ravens. They played some really average quarterbacks that year. I know people don't want to talk about that.
Tony Banks.
I know we talk about history and all that. They played some really average quarterbacks. They went from Tony Banks to went to Trent Dilfer.
Didn't they have Elvis Gerback at that time too?
Yeah, I believe so. And the thing is, no, Elvis Gerback came in the year after, because they got rid of that's Trent Dilfer. They got rid of Trent Dilfer because they thought that they could win a championship without him because the defense was so good. But his leadership on that team, and for those who haven't played football or just are into football a little bit, you don't understand. I don't care if you're primetime Deion Sanders. I don't care if you're Dale Green. I don't care if you're Rod Woodson. I don't care if you're Asante Samuel. Sorry for leaving some names out of some all-time great cornerbacks. If you do not have a defensive line, I don't care how fast you are going to give up yards. So that's why the Baltimore Ravens were so good, because they had a defensive line who could get to the quarterback, that could get to the running back. There's a reason that Eddie George was huffing and puffing by the time he got to Ray Lewis. He had to go through the goose first. So, yeah, when we talk about the epic rivalry back in the day, Drew, between not only Baltimore and Tennessee, but you got to look back at a guy like Fred Taylor. Look at the names. Tony Siragusa had to go against Fred Taylor, Eddie George, and the bus Jerome Bettis. What more? There's nothing else to say.
All three high Hall of Fame caliber running backs.
Yes. And I know Jerome is in the pro. I know he's in there. I know Eddie George, I believe, is in the Hall of Fame. I think Fred Taylor's in. He should be in because he led that Jacksonville Jaguars team to great heights. But Tony Siragusa had to clean up and think about the offensive linemen back then. How nasty they used to be. See, guys now, they do a little Trisha bars and they're not, and they do their little 7-on-7s. Those guys back then were nasty. They'll dive on you, they'll poke you. And I'm being serious, guys. They poke you, they'll pull your leg, they'll poke you, like I said, poke you in the eye. If you get down in the pile, they would hit you and all that type of stuff. So the era he played in was nasty. So shout out to Tony Siragusa. Rest in peace to him. Gone way too soon. And all I can say is, everybody, watch your health. I understand. I know we're in this topic, but everybody, because I'm trying to do my best to do better with my health, etc. Watch your health, because why do you think all these football players end up losing weight after they get off the football field? Tony Siragusa was a great soul, a sweet soul, but he needed to improve his health, and God bless his family, and just watch your health out there, folks, and shout out to Tony Siragusa and his family and everything he did for the football community.
Well, that was one point that I was going to bring up before we moved on, was when you look at the NFL players of today, and especially on the defensive line, things have transitioned to when they're a lot better shape nowadays. Tony Siragusa was a part of a tenure when the offensive and defensive line were known for being more stocky. It wasn't more so about overall muscle mass or looking slender back then. It was being big and bulky to where, like, on the offensive line is like a wrecking wall to where you couldn't get through. And defensive line, it's very rare to see someone like Tony Siragusa, like even back then, because he wasn't really completely in shape. He was somebody that even back then, that looked like somebody who would drink a 12-pack in a night, eat like half a dozen hot dogs while sitting back hanging out with the guys just watching basketball or baseball on TV or something. It was just a guy that you seemed like would hang out in the bar that you would see on a regular basis. So when it comes to when he got bigger and he got older, it wasn't so much that he just randomly put on the weight. He was always a big guy, even playing on the defensive line. And he just happened to continue on with that. And instead of that extra time he had because he was done with football, he didn't take that time to really put back into his body, like you were saying about some of the other people who have retired now and are dropping the weight because they don't need that heavy muscle mass anymore or all that weight to carry, because they don't have to make that force and that impactful blows like you do in the game of football.
Yeah, let me ask you this real quick. This is the last thing I'm going to say on this.
All right.
What would happen in today's time if you brought if you had Tony Siragusa from that era and Gilbert Brown on the defensive line against some of these softer offensive linemen? I'm not calling these offensive linemen soft. I'm just saying that the nutrition has changed, just the way football, the mindset. What would happen to an offensive line if those two guys were together on the field today?
With this, the game is faster now. So like that term in professional wrestling, which we'll get to for our last topic, you get blown up in the ring because you're out of shape. I feel like that could potentially happen with these older guys because the game is much faster. If you put them in there for a 60-minute game and you put them on the other side of the football and you had old school versus new school, I feel like the old school, they would still make some dominant impact, but they would get say blown up on the field like.
But that's what I'm saying, and you said something that is so correct. Guys like that, see, Drew, I think that you still need guys like Siragusa and Brown, not for a 60-minute game. You need them for those crucial situations, those 4th and 1s, those 4th and goals, 3rd and goals, things like that. I think those type of players are still needed because a lot of times those defensive linemen are getting blown up. You put some of those hog eaters in the middle, and you're trying to run the football. You're not getting through it. You're not getting through that. So I think those type of guys are still needed, and I think that it will come back one day. But you're not playing a 60-minute game. No, not at all. But for those situational plays, definitely.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you were utilized situationally, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely because even Siragusa, I mean, he got some breaks there. He got some breaks here and there. But in those situations that he was needed, he was crucial.
Ike comes back before we move on with "Give It to LeeRoy" for the badass name.
Sorry, Ike, can't do it.
Robb's basically saying this.
Ain't nobody care. Who cares? Ain't nobody care.
I don't have as much swag as Deion Sanders. Not by.
Well, Ike's over here saying that.
Acknowledge me.
I can't do that because I'm the tribal chief, Ike.
And yeah, so come on, Ike. Acknowledge that when it comes to that. Ike doesn't give a fuck. Yeah, LeeRoy, I love that song too. I think she's talking about bad LeeRoy Brown.
Oh,
It's the only thing I can think of at the top of my head.
I was listening to Gwen Stefani earlier. I mean, what do you want me to say? Yeah, look, man. There's no doubt that I'm just a boy trying to make it in the world.
I think I got my swagger back. Oh.
See what I did there? Yeah, I went there. I plugged, no doubt. Yes, I did.
Yeah, that's exactly what she was talking about. She says, baddest man in the whole damn town. Talking about LeeRoy Brown. Bad LeeRoy Brown. I know what you're talking about, Latina. We're on the same page with that. Thank you all for the comments to the first 4 rounds. We greatly appreciate it. Keep them coming as we go into the final round to discuss some WWE action. But before we get to that, we have one more commercial break, and then we'll be back for the final round.
SIRTOBA Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
And now a word from a non-accredited sponsor. This episode of the In or Out Sports Debate is brought to you by Peanut Butter and Jealous. When you're feeling a little blue based on what others are doing around you, spread a little peanut butter and jealous on your sandwich to make yourself feel whole again. Yeah. But hey, that was last year. And what did he was out.
Right. And now he's in.
But he's been out for an entire year. It's not, you can't think he's going to make the same impact that he did before he was suspended.
I'm telling you, he won't have to.
What?
See how
he going to keep his phone down and not make bets?
Come
on, man.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, look. Hey, stop playing games. Y'all already know. Go ahead and toss him some Willie Bucks. Ain't nobody playing around. $sign DWillie87. Go ahead, hit him up on the Cash App, and go ahead and give him some Willie Bucks. Look at Drew looking stoic, ladies and gentlemen. Stoic on that $10 bill. So go ahead, slide my man over some Willie Bucks, and we good. That's all I'm saying. We good. How about some Willie Bucks?
SIRTOBA Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Welcome back to a show where we have just as many commercials as a TNT broadcast, the Sports Senseis Unleashed.
I hate you, Joe.
SIRTOBA Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for episode 98 of the In or Out Sports Debate with the man, myth, and legend, Robb Johnson, as we have one comment to look at before we go into the final round. Ike says, slide them those Willie Bucks. Absolutely. Dio crushed it with that episode in episode 95 to give me that little promo there. I had to cut that thing into an actual commercial because you got to slide them those Willie Bucks. Everybody has gone through 4 great rounds of this show. And we got one more. What's up, Robb?
Drew, oh my God. When we get to the next topic, man,
As he says, and Mick says, I'm here. He disappeared, but he is back. Well, thank you for coming on back, Mick. Get hyped for this next one as we go into the final round.
Final round.
The final round, we take it into some WWE action. And I figured Robb would like this graphic at hand right here as we have everybody here. WWE talent will deliver at SummerSlam and keep the momentum going forward. How do you feel about this one at hand there, Robb? Are you in or are you out on this one?
I'm in, I guess. You know, this topic really isn't in or out. This topic is really just, I call this the rant topic, right? WWE has been doing some great things lately. I have some theories about where they should go into the future. But you know something, folks? When people talk about Bianca Belair's title run being stale, no. She defended the title when she did, and she had great opponents. Drew, can I get you on the screen, sir?
I'm coming on back to the east side.
What great match has Rhea Ripley had as champion?
With who? Rhea Ripley as champion?
Yeah. What great match she had?
I don't recall because they seem more like squash matches.
Yeah, I mean, she did beat Natalya, but as we all saw, that was forced after she destroyed her in Saudi Arabia. It's now being reported, ladies and gentlemen, that Rhea Ripley and Raquel Rodriguez will not be wrestling at SummerSlam. They're going to push it to Payback in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the things that really bothers me, right? Because, but one thing I will say, Drew, is thank God they didn't put Liv Morgan in the match. And let's just hope we don't get a Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley match. Because who really believes that Liv Morgan can be in a ring with Rhea Ripley? Who really believes that? Who? I don't believe it. Do you believe it? I don't believe it. Let me say this, though, about the SummerSlam. Other than that, I think it will deliver. I think that, but this is one thing I do fear, Drew. I fear that that Ronda Rousey is going to get a Brock Lesnar type booing because we all know this is the last time. We all know that she's going back to UFC. So it's going to be MMA rules. Are they really going to put over Ronda Rousey to make her look good going back to UFC? Going back to UFC because, WWE and UFC have the contract together. They're in bed with each other. So we'll see how it goes.
I don't think it's a smart move for Ronda to go back to UFC because of how she exited last time. It's been many years since she's competed.
I don't think, listen, man, when it comes to intelligence, I don't think Ronda, never mind. I'm sorry. God forgive me. Look, when I watch some of her promos, I'm going to tell you what it is, bitch. Like, I'm like, is she a little off sometimes? But anyway, it's all good. I did like what she said, though, about the pay discrepancy. You got to be able to draw. And one thing I will give Ronda Rousey, she was able to draw, but they gave her they gave her, what do you call it, Drew? They gave her a bunch of cupcakes like they gave Mike Tyson back in the day until she finally came up against somebody that could beat her. But no diss to Mike Tyson. We're just saying. But overall, Drew, besides my two problems with those two cards, and their women cards, which should tell you everything. Oh, I forgot. They decided to put Asuka and Charlotte and Bianca in a match. Instead of just giving us who, Drew? Charlotte and Bianca. Why is it that every time Asuka becomes champion, they do some stupid crap? Like, do they not know what to do with her? Do they not know she needs to go back to New Japan? Or you know what I like to see? I like to see Asuka go to Impact and just face Naomi for next year for the Impact Knockouts title. Let's do that or something. Because they don't know what to do with that great talent, man. Other than that, and again, folks, that's the 3 women's cards. And that should show you everything you need to know about the women and how they need to improve it. Other than that, Drew, I'm a big fan of the card. You already know my favorite match is Roman Reigns, Jey Uso. What's going to happen in that match? We don't know. What's going to be the ramifications? We don't know. But I am hoping that a certain relative shows up. What do you think?
Rikishi?
No, the other one. The slimmer one. I did it for The Rock.
It did.
Remember that back in the day?
I did it for The Rock. He sounded such like a robot when he said that too.
I did it for The Rock. I did it for The Rock.
Hitting Stone Cold, yeah.
I ran over Stone Cold with the car. I did it for The Rock. But like I said, Drew, it's gonna be an interesting card. And I think my favorite match, and people may disagree with me here. My favorite match on the card. And I think that, Drew, this is an important match. This could be one of the most important matches since 91, 92 because of what it involves. And that's the Intercontinental Heavyweight title. The U.S. title was so big under Bobby Lashley. It's kind of lost its meat and potatoes with Austin Theory. Sorry, Austin. Ever since you beat John Cena, things have kind of gone down for you a little bit. You think things have gone up, but they've gone down. That Drew McIntyre and Gunther match is going to be a classic. In fact, I'm calling it right now. It will be the best match on the card. That match will bring back the Intercontinental title for all of its glory. So for me, Drew, I think that match alone makes this pay-per-view great and keeps the momentum going. And you have people that want to fight for the Intercontinental title because you have all that talent on Raw. That's my match tonight. You know I'm a huge Roman Reigns fan with my videos, my sayings, and everything. But that Drew McIntyre and Gunther match is the match of the night. No doubt about it. If that match doesn't deliver, Drew, the rest of the card is going to have an issue.
And you got a good point there. And, you bring up several good points with that. And for this one, I got to agree with you on this as well. So when it comes to my take here, and Rob throws a lot of great points, and I think everybody is excited for that main event when it comes to SummerSlam in this year. I mean, Jey Uso, Roman Reigns, the whole tribal war right there. I mean, it's going
combat.
I know, but it's going to be a war in there. And it is a great time now with the whole Writer Guild strike and everything that we have The Rock make an appearance at SummerSlam and build to something potentially culminating next year at WrestleMania. Because just like they did with John Cena, and they would have just as much time, it seems like, to build a good program between who is the legitimate tribal chief of the entire NOYE family. You have to give it to potentially this being the moment, because who else do they have to really put up against Roman? And as much time off as he takes, it would make sense to go ahead and start planting the seeds for what could happen next season during WrestleMania season. Jey Uso is definitely a main event talent, which is what built up in the bloodline. And we've got some good matches within the card as well, not just to speak about the bloodline, but just announced this past week on SmackDown, kind of like the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. This time we're going to have the Slim Jim Battle Royal when it comes. We're going to have the mother and Slim Jim Battle Royal. So you're excited for snapping at SummerSlam. And when it became famous, snapping into a Slim Jim, and Randy Savage was around SummerSlam time. I believe it was 92. So we're a little over 20 years from the conception of snap into a Slim Jim. And that's SummerSlam. Oh, yeah. As Rob just said. So on top of that, like he mentioned earlier, but the Ronda Rousey Shayna Baszler match will more than likely be used to elevate Shayna Baszler a little bit if they write that match right. The one match that there is some hype on, but I'm not that excited about is Logan Paul and Ricochet. I'm just tired of seeing Logan Paul at this point. Like he's just annoying me. with the whole Prime energy drink and all that stuff and seeing him on TV. And Ricochet, they haven't utilized him right in many aspects of his WWE run. And they're doing okay with him now, but I feel like it's a little too late, Rob. I feel it's a little too late when it comes to Ricochet.
I agree.
Yeah, and then you got Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar, which this better be the end. This better be the end when it comes to this quote-unquote rival that's been going on. You see Brock Lesnar strutting around, beats the you-know-what out of Cody, then he leaves. Then Cody has enough time to heal up just for him to come in and whoop his ass again. Okay, so I'm tired of seeing it. Stop doing it. Stop flirting with Cody when it comes to pushing him or not. It is time to push him and give him some type of title run. And the only way that's going to happen, the best way it can happen, is if he takes the title off of Roman Reigns. So then going up the card again, after that, like Rob had mentioned, with the Intercontinental Championship match, Gunther and Drew McIntyre, okay? That right there is going to tell if Drew McIntyre can help elevate him even more than what Gunther's already elevated to. If he can elevate Gunther up to where he can put him into the running for potentially challenging for the World Heavyweight Championship on Raw, or potentially being someone else to be fed to Roman Reigns to help build him up there too. It's going to be a good question mark around that match with watching that Intercontinental Championship match. Then you've got Seth Rollins and Finn Balor. Now, Seth Rollins is dealing with recent injuries and stuff, and he's been injury prone in the past. And there is nothing really big going on with this big Marvel movie right now, or at least he doesn't really have to promote it as much because we're not going to see it until next year. So we still have time with Seth Rollins to potentially still be very active like he has been as the workhorse champion over there on Raw. Will his injury be big enough for him to drop the belt to Judgment Day alumni, or not alumni, but Judgment Day member Finn Balor, and then they have that whole squabble between him and Damian Priest with the Money in the Bank? It could be interesting to see what they do with that match there. But I feel like Seth's run has been too short to cut at this point. I feel like Seth Rollins is going to take that match right there. And the whole triple threat women's match, like Rob was talking about, bring him back on the screen with that, is an absolute dumpster fire. Whoever wrote this whole situation right here with this whole triple threat match, you got to be a bunch of dumpster pelicans writing this whole thing right here, because it doesn't make any sense. Like Rob said, it should have been Charlotte Flair straight up with Bianca Belair if they would have done it right. But we don't have that situation because you put the strap on Asuka, and now we've got this situation going into SummerSlam. But the biggest match of the whole entire card, yes, is Tribal Combat. But the way things are going, I'm in on this whole WWE will deliver for the, for the talent will deliver for this show. They will. But the writers in certain elements to this card, as Rob and I brought up, are letting us as the fans or the critics down, because there's certain things within this that I just brought up and Rob just brought up that we really don't want to see within this show.
Let me say this, Drew, and before I get back to the SummerSlam card, wrestling is back, and people don't want to admit it. But this, to me, it's big. It's as big as it was almost in the Attitude Era. I'm gonna tell you why. Because two reasons: the pandemic, and I'm gonna give a match. There's a match to me, and I don't know if you noticed, the house show numbers have been up. There's a match that happened last year at SummerSlam. Remember last year when everybody said, "Oh, it's Brock, it's Roman, who cares? The man we're gonna boo." He comes out in a tractor. One of the most entertaining matches we've seen in a long time. That match set the standard. Wrestling's been hot ever since. Brock Lesnar, in my opinion, needs to beat Cody Rhodes. Not only does he need to beat him, he needs to beat him so bad that Cody Rhodes is gone for 4 or 5 months. He needs to be out kayfabe-wise for like a few months. It is time to put the World Heavyweight Championship on Brock Lesnar. I want to see, you know what I personally want to see? I want to see Damian Priest against Brock Lesnar. Just for the hell of it. Just for the hell of it. I want Finn Balor to win the title. I want Damian Priest to come out there and win it, kick him out of the Judgment Day. And I want to see Brock Lesnar go for that World Heavyweight Championship. Oh, there's a match I forgot about, Drew. Tell me how interested you are in Becky Lynch versus Trish Stratus.
I'm not. That's why I didn't even bring it up.
The other day, somebody said that this run is the best run. one of the best runs she's had. Like, no, if you think about it, Trish flamed out even back then. Trish flamed out back then. And, you know, her promos have been horrible. They brought her back. Listen, if Becky Lynch needs Trish Stratus to establish her, she's got a problem. Because you look at it, Drew, ever since the Charlotte Flair beef and against the Ronda Rousey beef, what has Becky Lynch really had? Not really had much. I hate to say it. Now you go to Theory against Santos Escobar. I think Santos Escobar is a really good performer. I don't like this match particularly, but I think it'll be a decent match. But we'll get to this maybe another episode or whatever. I think that LA Knight not winning the U.S. title right now is perfect. Because, see, Drew, and I hate to foreshadow, I told somebody this last night because we're talking wrestling. Ultimately, you know what I want to see? I want to see LA Knight. I don't want to see him win. Keep having him lose because there's something. If you listen to Busted Open, the podcast on 156 on XM Radio, do you listen to Busted Open? I encourage everybody to go listen to Busted Open and listen to Tommy Dreamer. We're talking wrestling here. People are like, oh, you're talking wrestling. Yeah, we're talking wrestling. We're getting deep here, folks. Tommy Dreamer talked about sometimes you don't need the title. Sometimes you can get the title and it's like, oh my God, what do I do after this? It's like one of those Family Guy shows that is the skits where one of the characters finally killed the mouse and he's like, what the hell do I do with my life now? What do I do with my life? So basically it's like this. You win the title, you're LA Knight, you win the US title. Okay, where do you go from here? So this is what I want to see with LA Knight. Then I go to the next matches real quick. I want to see LA Knight win the Royal Rumble, go on and face Roman Reigns in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Have The Rock come out and act like he's going to help Roman, but he takes out Roman, setting up WrestleMania 41 between The Rock and Roman, and then The Rock raises LA Knight's hand as the new big thing in professional wrestling. AEW will shit their pants. Let me go to the next match. So we talked about Raquel Rodriguez and Rhea Ripley. That's going to be delayed. I definitely want to see. It's time for Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn to get the titles up, Drew. They don't need them anymore. It's time for them to get into a rivalry. But Dominic Mysterio, oh my God. Could you imagine 3 years ago us saying that Dominic is one of the hottest heels in the industry? 3 years ago, could you imagine this guy, the work that he has done, Drew? Talk about it real quick to the people. My God.
It has been wild watching the run that he has been going on. It's like the longer the mullet gets, the more heat he gets and the more success he's having with the longer mullet. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see with that. But back to your point with Becky Lynch, what you were saying, she kind of like she hit the ceiling. Yeah, she hit the ceiling when she was Becky Two Belts. Like that's when it started to flame out for her, and she hasn't come anywhere close to that success then. If Trish Stratus can help elevate Zoe Stark a little bit more on this main roster before she leaves,
man.
Yeah, if she can help elevate her legitimately instead of her just being a fanboy and hanging behind or whatnot, then I like where that's going if it gets to that point. But I'm not excited for this match because just with the whole broken nose, mask BS and all that stuff, it's like we've seen that too much in the past. We've seen enough of that. There's nothing that's real original that I'm feeling from the story. And it's nothing really coming on Becky's end. I feel like it's too much. They're trying too hard with Trish, where the one-off stuff and the whole thing with her getting the tag championships with Becky Lynch and Lita and the whole turn on that was good, but you know, and the story-wise, but she's sticking around a little bit too long. Like she's not sticking really too much with the whole Legends deal. It's a little bit too much with me. But with Dominic Mysterio and what he's done, like I said, the longer the mullet's gotten, the better he's gotten at his role of being a heel here on the main roster. And what he's doing now with NXT, now that he's the North American champion, and now we're going to see him even more on TV. And with what happened to the Great American Bash, with him defending it and walking out the way that he did with Rhea, this Judgment Day story is literally going to be as big like the 1A Bloodline, 1B Judgment Day is what we're seeing right now. And it's as big of momentum along with LA Knight that it's the biggest momentum we've seen within WWE since we had Stone Cold and The Rock back in the Attitude Era, in my opinion.
I want to remind everybody the reason you don't give up on Dominic, and keep your face up there, Drew. The reason you don't give up on Dominic Mysterio like everybody, we want to give up on Dominic. I want to remind everybody something. Just remember something. In 1990, oh, and by the way, folks, we did get Mean Mark Calloway against Sting, but it was in WCW.
Me Mark Callis.
Callis, I'm sorry.
Yeah, me Mark Callis, yeah.
I don't know why I always like to call him Calloway by his real name. I don't know why I do it. It just sounds so much better. He sounds like a kid. Anyway. But no, we had The Undertaker basically in WCW. We had Stone Cold, who honestly, Drew, I know a lot of people don't want to hear this. I liked his persona in WCW more than I liked Stone Cold because he was a better wrestler. But he had the neck injury. The
neck injury happened shortly after he got to WWE.
But if there was a Hall of Fame for WCW, he'd be a Hall of Fame in 2 sports. But this is why you don't give up on people. You had,
ECW too for the promo.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You look at, they had Undertaker, they had Stone Cold, they had all this talent. But you know something? And Ole Anderson comes up and says, son, and this is true, you will never draw. Anybody don't believe me, go look it up. He told Undertaker, you will never draw. And there are people who didn't think Dominic Mysterio would draw. Let me tell you like this. He can draw. And what I would like to see, Drew, is this. I like to see him and Damian Priest win those tag team titles this Saturday. But this is what I like to see after. After they win the titles, have Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa come out as a team, and I want them to challenge them. I want them to win the titles, and then I want to see them go against Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, because you think about all the animosity in those teams. That could be one of the most explosive rivalries against not only the other team, but against each other we've ever seen. It's like a psychological trick. It could be one of the most psychological tag team matches we've ever seen. We get Ciampa and Johnny Gargano against Owens and Sami Zayn. I want to see that match. I want to see that. I want to see over time them write that story. What do you think about that, Drew?
I think that'd be a good story to throw in there. It definitely would be a good mix to throw into what we currently have. Especially after SummerSlam season's over. It'd be a good way to start it off into this last phase we have going into WrestleMania.
Give SummerSlam a grade right now. 1 through 10. Give me a grade. What do you think it's going to be?
Main event will be an A. The overall aspect of it, and I might be rating a little bit high based on what I'm looking at for the rest of the card. A B minus, maybe. I don't have a lot of faith in the rest of the matches as I brought. I feel like there's going to be 2, maybe 3, but the rest of the cards are going to bring them down.
I'm going to give it an A, and I'm going to tell you why. I think we're going to get some surprises. I think that there's going to be some returns. I think there's going to be some appearances. I just think that for some reason, and I know I talked about some of the women's matches. I know I talked about some of the other matches that I was like, I was kind of on. I really think we're going to get some surprises at SummerSlam. And I think that we're going to get – and I'm going to tell you this. Even though I think they're a little bit too late on Ricochet, Drew, I think that match could steal the show. Like Gunther and Drew McIntyre, I think that Ricochet knows. See, Logan Paul's a made man. He's going to be there regardless. Ricochet needs this match. He needs this match, Drew. He was the opening topic tonight on Monday Night Raw. When was the last time Ricochet was the opening topic on Monday night? It was on the opening segment of Monday Night Raw. He knows that.
Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah, it's been a while.
This ain't never happened. If he doesn't get it done this Saturday night in Detroit, Michigan, it's over. It's over. I'm sorry, it's over. His soon-to-be wife or fiance will be the most famous one in the family.
No, you're absolutely right. I don't disagree with any of that. And we got some comments we got to acknowledge going on with wrestling, but also some from the last topic that we had here. We're talking about LeeRoy Brown. Rest in peace. LeeRoy Brown is he only lived 30 years.
Crazy.
Was an American folk and writer and songwriter. Okay, good history lesson right there. Short life of 30 years. Absolutely. Get back into wrestling. Ike says, "Screw Gunther."
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Ike, one more thing.
Stay off the weed.
Come on, man. What has Gunther done to deserve that? Tell him, Rob.
Remember the old commercial where it says ding 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 eek. Hey, get off. Hey, screw I don't give a fuck. Get off Gunther's deek.
Latina says Roman should fight The Rock. Absolutely. She absolutely should. Kick some old Rock booty. How do you feel about that?
I don't know if I use the word. I like. You know what? How about this? How about we invest in some good pie?
There you go. Because
the Rock likes pie.
I just want him to come out here when I just want The Rock to come out. Not only that, because that would be a great segment, but I want The Rock to come out while Roman is talking and just say,
You should know your role and shut your mouth.
just tell it to Roman. Even if he does get his ass kicked, just tell him that. I want to hear him say it.
But Drew, I was thinking about something, right? Can The Rock really exist in wrestling now? Because I was looking back at some of his promos and they were great, and I love him. We love him. I'm just afraid that NBC might be like, hey, The Rock there was being a little bit too mean. We don't like that he was being so mean to people. I don't know, Drew. We live in I don't know if you noticed, but we live in a very sensitive world now.
We do, but not Mick, as Mick told me to slow my roll and to calm my ass down. Well, Mick, I've been doing a lot of this to get ready for this show with Rob.
But we talking about practice, man. What are we talking about? Practice? We're talking about practice, man. We're talking about practice. We're talking about practice. We ain't talking about the game. We're talking about practice, man. When you come in the arena and you see me play, don't you?
Absolutely.
You see me give everything I got, right? Absolutely. But we talking about practice right now.
Been practicing enough. That's why I had to bring up the man, myth, and legend who discussed practice.
This is the crap I'm talking about, Drew. They got Raquel Rodriguez talking about she got a knee injury, but her leg is hanging off the table. Actually put a pillow underneath her leg so that it can raise her leg so that she can get blood flow. Not having her leg hanging over the table. Get some blood flow. But no, they're so lazy. Here comes Brock Lesnar.
Well, Rob, it was probably a part of this, the plandemic, as Latina says. It was probably a part of what we all encountered with that.
No comment.
It was all planned.
No comment. I don't know. Hey, Latino, hey, I tell you like this, buddy. You better be legit. You better not be one of those deep state people like Tommy Lee Jones was in that movie where he was acting like he was a part of the movement, but he was a part of the movement.
Absolutely. Let's move on to the next comment. Ike says Brock is the GOAT. Of what? What is he the GOAT of? When it comes to your thoughts on him being the GOAT, I gotta say this.
You're fired.
I mean, he did get Sable. I mean, and that's not a bad prize.
I guess then he has to say that.
I am the game, and I am that damn good.
Picking her up, I guess.
I mean, Marvelous Mark Merrill did have her first, so never mind.
It's a sloppy seconds. Oh, that was great.
Hey,
Brock is one of the GOATs, but Eddie Guerrero was also a GOAT.
Can I ask you a question, Drew, real quick?
What's that?
Was it kind of a stretch for me to say that?
No, I was falling right into it. That was great. But hey, with this topic that Latina says about Eddie Guerrero also being a GOAT, how do you feel about that?
Eddie Guerrero. Let me say this. I'll say this. Eddie Guerrero, Chris Jericho, and Rey Mysterio. Think about this, folks. You go from winning the Cruiserweight Championship to being a heavyweight champion in WWE. That transition, that's crazy. And that Cruiserweight division was one of the great divisions of all time in WCW. There's no question. WWE's Cruiserweight division can't even come close to it. The Dean Malenkos, the world, etc. But Eddie Guerrero was one of the great wrestlers I've ever seen. He should have got a bigger push in WCW. But again, folks, sometimes certain places just aren't meant for you. Like WCW wasn't meant for Eddie Guerrero to be great. He comes over to WWE. He does great things. He works with China. He becomes the undisputed champion. WWE was a place for him to become a champion. WCW was just his stepping stone. But yeah, Eddie Guerrero is he's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, no doubt about it. And his frog splash along Montez Ford is one of the prettiest.
Yes. Yes. And Mick comes back in here and says, Rob, stay in your lane about trash. She is smoking hot.
Hey, listen. It's not my fault that things got stretched a little while before she got beasted out. It's not my fault. I'm just speaking of that. Hey, listen, Mickey. Listen, Mickey. And we don't even know what happened in WWE. Think about it. She probably got with Vince Patterson. No, she didn't get with Patterson. Yeah. I mean, listen, folks. She wasn't that great of a wrestler. So just like we're talking about the Hollywood, and trust me, she may have visited the couch a few times. I'm not saying she did.
What?
But she got. You think she got it because she was a great wrestler?
What?
I don't think so.
Let's be honest.
I think Sammy's getting
Say
paid.
what again? Say what again?
Hey, I'm sorry, man. Listen, like I said, no offense to her, but listen, folks. Those couches are real. Trust me, Vince has one in his office. Listen, dude.
He's used it several times.
Look, dude. Let's be honest here, and we're not trying to offend anybody. Vince McMahon literally had people kissing his ass on television, literally. So if they're kissing his ass on television, what are they doing behind the scenes?
Yeah, they're practicing their part. They're doing a little bit of extra practicing, if you know what I'm saying, which is why there's been some hush money from Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
I'm Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Yeah. He used to do shit like that. Seriously.
He did. Latina says the mullet gets longer, he gets stronger like Samson. That's a good point there.
Yeah.
The mullet's not weighing him down. It's only adding to his strengths.
Yeah. I mean, listen, the hair does wonders sometimes.
But Mick says no one has time for his crap. Yeah, Mick just told you, Ike, to do this.
Would you please shut the hell up?
And I throw in this as well.
Stay off the weed.
Please do that, Ike.
So I wonder if Ike is a Washington Huskies fan. So we'll get a Cougar versus a Husky. I wonder who will win that.
Hey, that could be why he got upset earlier about the Cornhuskers when we were talking the Big 12. So that could be why he got upset. The Rock is not in ring shape though. But look at the shape he's in. It's not like he's in bad shape. It's not like he's Tony Saragusa's shape like we were talking about earlier. You got to give him that credit there.
I don't think the Rock wants to be in Tony Saragusa's shape because it's not right now. No offense to God rest his soul, but he don't want to be in Tony Saragusa's shape. That's nice.
I think this goes back to earlier when you weren't sure, but she says she is a she her. I'm not too sure. I think this is where we threw in the A in there. I don't know. There might have been some confusing. But yeah. Damn spelling says Mick. Rest in peace, Eddie. Yes, definitely rest in peace. I can't believe, Rob, we're like we're about 2 years removed from saying 20 years that he's been gone, dude. 20 years. That's wild.
Oh God.
Sick Diggy is in the house. My man made it all the way from Norway. Sick Diggy is in, as he has been a fan of the Snowman in the Morning crew, and he was definitely with me on one of the Sports Senseis episodes on July 4th, filling in for Snowman, who I still think ate too many gummies and passed out. I give him a hard time about him. Just having a fun time.
Hey Drew, check this out, right? I think WWE cut Cody's suit budget He's out here with no suit on again. Brock Lesnar's about to kick his ass.
It is Monday Night Raw, though. It is Monday Night Raw. You can see him in a tracksuit, in a nightmare tracksuit, or in a suit. I mean, I don't think it's cut into the budget because I think Cody probably brings his own suits. He probably rocks his own suits for the promos and stuff. But you can't talk about the mullets without talking about Eddie Guerrero's. Sick does bring up a great point, but like father, like son, as they keep saying in the storyline, Dominic Mysterio is trying to be like Father B when you have Father A, Rey Mysterio. You can see that part.
That's his path.
Because he's probably taking a lot from what Eddie Guerrero did as a heel, because Rey Mysterio really hasn't had much time on the mic or in promos as a heel. It's mainly from what he's learning is probably from tutelage within the Performance Center as well. But going back and watching some of Eddie's stuff is probably where the inspiration for the mullet came from. So
yeah, I mean, the only time we saw him as a heel is when he was a gangster in WCW for that brief time.
With the mask off and the what was it, the bandana or whatever, it was sticking out like that, whatever he did, where he had the devil horns. He was wearing the little devil horns or whatever was what Rey Mysterio was doing. So guys, we've gone through 5 great rounds on this show. Rob, are you okay before we move on?
Man, see, Cody decided he wanted to jump out the ring at Brock, and then Brock just killed him again. Man, let's move on, man.
Like I said, I'm tired of seeing this rivalry. They need to end it at SummerSlam.
He's killing him. He's killing him, Drew. He's killing him. Move on, Drew. No more wrestling.
Guys, we've had 5 great rounds on this show. We really have. And before we go to the final word, we have to acknowledge that Robb has now moved up again in the Vault of Fame.
Acknowledge me.
That being said, Robb Johnson is now a 15-time Vault of Fame inductee with this episode 98 in the books. And you can look at this Vault of Fame leaderboard here as he is definitely moving his way up closer to Joseph Raymond, who is at 18 times of the Vault of Fame. Guys, you can check this out on SIRTOBA Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, as well as at sirtoba.com. We are back for episode 98, and there's only one thing left to do before we go to the outro, and that is go to the final word. And Rob, you know the deal, just like in the past 14 times when it comes to everything we've discussed on this show or anything in sports and entertainment in general, maybe even what you're watching on TV. What do you have on your mind for your final word? Do you want to keep it in wrestling, or do you want to go to something else for that final word?
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Brock Lesnar just killed. No, I'm gonna say this. Shout out to the women. Shout out to the women who said something about Leah Thomas. Well, Leah Thomas, whatever that dude's name is. So apparently the coaches were telling the young ladies that when they were dressing in front of Leah Thomas, who transitioned, they were saying, just get over it, whatever. Drew, I don't have any kids, but if I had a daughter and my daughter came home and told me that the coach said get over it while another man who had transitioned was looking at my daughter, I would go rip the fuck off. Ladies and gentlemen, it is hard enough for women to exist in sports as it is. Let women be women. Let them have their sports. I don't care if people like it. I don't care. Let women have their sports, because guess what, ladies and gentlemen? It's a bunch of dudes out there. It's a bunch of dudes out there who are not succeeding in their sports, who are coming over women's sports. Hey, Drew, can I get you on screen for my last word? Can I ask you this?
I am back.
How many girls are transitioning to men's sports because their sports too hard?
Numbers going up. Man, it's trending up.
No, I'm saying how many women do you see transitioning to being men who are playing men's sports, like football?
Is this like a gender change thing?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Do you remember the swimmer that it came out that the swimmer who had won all those national championships? What happened is that the young ladies were having to dress in front of him, and the coaches were like, "Get over it." Like, or look at the new rules. And these young women were like, we don't want to do this. We feel uncomfortable. So they went in front of Congress and said something. People don't like that, but guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We got to protect the women. Because at the end of the day, guess what? If Leah Thomas, that's the dude's name or whatever, but now Leah Thomas, what happens if he gets mad at, or he or she gets mad at one of the female other female swimmers, and he goes off and hits her? He still got man strength. So at the end of the day, it's like, listen, protect the women in sports. Protect the women in sports. You Congress, all of y'all claim you care about the women? Show me. Stop telling me. Show me.
No, that's a good point right there with Rob for his final word, and I'll take my final word now and discuss some things. And the biggest thing I want to thank is the y'all out there watching this show. We're at 98 episodes. For those of you who followed me onto this now at platform, this is the 8th episode since I brought this over to SIRTOBA Media and everything in the transition with that. Rob's been a huge part of it too, with this being his 15th episode. Definitely been a major part of this this show and its development trending upwards. So I want to take this moment to thank you, thank Joey and everybody else who's spent so many episodes, so many hours on here with me. We've gone for an hour and 45 minutes so far before we wrap this thing up. And I got some comments from you fans out there that will acknowledge before we get on out of here. But to go for almost 2 hours, there's not many people that I trust to go 2 hours or nearly, this long. And the episodes have been going 90 minutes here lately, but to go even over that, there's not many people that can keep up with me to do that. And Rob is definitely one of those people that can do that, which is why, he was part of this show's beginning and now part of as we continue to trend upwards. So be looking forward to get more episodes in with him in the future and with everybody else as we go past 100 and take this show into throughout the rest of this year in 23, 24 and beyond. So thank you all for being part of this show. We'll go ahead and take it back with Rob and acknowledge the last comments that we have before we get on out of here. And it looks like Sick Diggy says, I remember that storyline where there was a ladder match in SummerSlam for the custody of Dominic. And now you look back on it, think of his time as the heel now after, 3 years later. That is wild. When we were watching it back then when we had the custody match and battle between Eddie and Ray, and to think of what we got now is definitely pretty wild. What do you think, Rob?
True story. Vicky Guerrero was having a threesome with those guys. So that's how everything happened.
We needed to say World Star at the end of that because that's a little
World
bit
Star.
Yeah. Sick Diggy, that's true. Eddie made mullets great again. He did. He definitely did. Ray had the horns and Tigress. Billy Kidman had Tori Wilson. Then shout out to Juventud Guerrera as well. The Filthy Animals were a great stable.
I mean, I wasn't a fan of Tori Wilson. She was too skinny for me. I'm sorry. I liked Jacqueline because she was thick and she was chocolate. And I like Naomi. Screw you, WWE, for letting Naomi go. Some of her, listen, if you like Naomi, please go to her Instagram. That's all I got to say. Listen, the other day, somebody cursed out Jimmy Uso. They were like, you bastard, you better make sure you take care of her. And I'm saying the same thing. You better make sure you take care of her, Jimmy Uso. That woman is built like a goddess.
Hey, Tori Wilson might have been too skinny in the WCW days, but by the time she got to WWF, then WWE after, she definitely she put a little bit more thickness. She filled up the body a little bit better. You gotta give Tori Wilson a little bit of love there.
She ain't Bailey. though.
No, she ain't curvy like Bailey. But hey, you gotta give her a little bit of credit though, just a little bit.
I might. You know what I might do? I might go play WWE 2003 and put her in a match against one of my creative characters, Big Bertha.
Tina McCallie for one of the last comments says, "Don't forget about Scott Steiner's mullet before the big pump blonde hair. He rocked pretty mean mullet back in the early 90s.
Listen. Don't nobody care about Scott Steiner's mullet. The only thing we care about, that was a 250 to 270 pound man to do a Frankensteiner better than a cruiserweight.
Yeah,
that Frankensteiner was just the stuff, man.
Now, speaking of trans athletes, how many people know about Pat Emanuel? He's a featherweight boxer that transitioned into a man. I haven't heard of them, so that's actually a good point there, Sick.
Well,
That's
no.
another one
I'll
to
give
add
you
on
that.
to
I
your
will give you
topic.
that. I will give you that. I do think it was a female who transitioned to a man, and
Yes.
he fight. Yeah. But let me say this though. About fighting. Football, basketball, probably not. But I will say this, Drew. When it comes to fighting, I don't care if you're man or woman. I ain't seen plenty of women beat men's asses. So you're fighting is I've seen some women kick some dudes' asses for real.
No, that's definitely a true statement there. All the bio women need to just refuse to play altogether until they stop having to battle bio men.
I don't.
I think it's the same meaning as trans, basically trying to put them in their own category is basically the way that I read it.
Listen. Like I said, it's no offense to anybody. It's just that, like I said, I come from an era where people played against who they played against, and we all know Billie Jean King that was just a farce. Stop acting like that was real. We all know that was for TV. But listen, again, guys, we keep talking. I keep hearing these politicians talking about women and how they need to get paid more, etc. Well, why don't you help increase the sport? Why don't you try to help women? You shouldn't have. Listen, dude. When I used to go to the YMCA, now I transitioned to another gym, but I used to go to the YMCA. Even me as a man, I ain't trying to see them old dudes with the blow dryers blowing their balls and stuff. I don't want to see that. So if I'm a dude, think about the women who are uncomfortable. Come on now. I don't want to see that mess.
No, you're absolutely right. Sick comes back with that should have been the case regarding Fallon Fox and women's MMA. Yeah, Sick's definitely done his homework on this. He definitely knows what we're talking about. All they have to do is say they identify as a woman.
Screw all that. Screw out, Drew. I got something better.
What's that?
Oh, hell no. I ain't speaking no more. Not after this comment. I ain't saying nothing else. Nothing else.
Nobody needs to know about Vicky Guerrero's sex life with your topic of talking about Ray and Eddie
hey, Drew, go to the last comment. Go to the comment before that. This comment right there, I don't know nothing about that. Hey, listen. I've never been in the bushes of anybody's house. I don't know who Walter Camp is. I don't know who the Rockefellers. I don't know who any of these people are. This LA. I don't know nothing.
Naomi did what was best for her career at Robb Johnson. Understand the business is shady like that.
Man,
that's a good point.
I don't care about that dude. As long as she keeps coming out there doing what she does, I don't care. She can be an Impact. She can be an AJW. She can be in New Japan. She can be in New Virginia. I don't give a damn. I'm following Naomi.
New Virginia. And our last comment that we have before we get on out of here, Pat Emanuel has an endorsement and models for Everlast boxing apparel.
Okay. Do I give a fuck? I don't care. Listen, man. Y'all don't get it. See, you know what? This is the problem with America these days. They're like, oh, you gotta like this. Like, no, I ain't gotta like nothing. It's just like if I go to a restaurant, right? And let's say they're like, well, we don't want you here because you're black. I'm like, okay, that's your idiocy. Guess why? Because now you don't get a tip, stupid. Let me tell you something, folks. The thing is that we worry about all these other things, yada, yada, yada. I ain't worried about none of that stuff. You may not like me because of the way I look, color my skin, yada, yada. I don't care about that. You know what I'll do? I'll go to the next restaurant. And the person who treats me well, treats like a good person, you know what I do? I give them a tip. You know what? When you do stupid stuff out here, you lose money. And when it comes to this whole thing we got going on now, et cetera, with all the stuff going on, biological women versus not, the bottom line is this. I care as a man who loves women that wants to protect women. I came out in December, yada, 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 of whatever day I was born, whatever year I was born, because I ain't going to say it on here. I came out my mother's vagina, not out my daddy's dick. I came out my mama's vagina. Vagina. That's the proper term. Vagina.
Six says Latina and Cali is talking about CTE when it comes to the skulls and bones.
Listen, man. I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn if you're talking about 7-Eleven. I ain't saying a word. Because trust me, Listen, I'm pretty sure some people right now from the alphabets who watch these type of shows, I ain't saying shit. Nothing. I ain't saying nothing. I don't know nothing about none of this other stuff. I don't know nothing.
Legacy Maker in the house saying, hey, fellas, what up, fam? Thank you for the quick drop of the comment there towards the end of the show. We appreciate it. And Latina Cali says, women's sports are very boring. In most sports, they can't make more money. There's not enough fans. I mean, she does have a point there. A very good point.
I mean, they don't suck, but the problem is that the corporations took over. I mean, think about the WNBA before they started doing stupid stuff. Look back. I challenge anybody. Go back and look at the Cynthia Cooper days back in the 90s when Houston was there. It was all about basketball. It wasn't about this extra stuff. They weren't promoting criminals. And I'm sorry. Let's just keep it real. This week we learned that Brittany Griner has to go away because of her mental health. Okay. First of all, the team sucks. Second of all, you should know the laws when you go for. Did you guys see the thing that happened in Dubai with the girl who was over there disrespecting people in Dubai? They put her ass in jail. Because guess what? There are different laws for different places.
You need to do your research before you go over there. You and I were talking about that when it comes to what we were dealing with the whole top. When this whole happened, when she was in that Russian jail before she even went to trial, you and I were talking about that back then on this show about you need to know the laws before you step foot in these other countries, because if you're going to run your mouth or you're going to smoke a hash pipe, you at least need to know what in the blank is going on over there. J-Dog comes in right towards the end and says, I love women and men come from women. Stop women from being. Come on. Oh, J-Dog. That was wild.
You know what, J-Dog? I'm so sick and tired of you dudes out there and your little commentary about, I'm going to be a high-value man and, you don't need women and all this other stuff. And you don't need... Let me tell you something, bro. It ain't changed in thousands of years. I don't care how tough you are. I don't care how much of a man you think you are. You got your soft woman that comes and puts your hand on their shoulder. You need love. You got. Let me tell you something. Why you think grandmas back in the day got 11, 12 kids? They got the mystery. Because that's the problem, ladies and gentlemen. There ain't no mystery no more. Everybody out here exposing everything. We need to go back to the grandma dresses. Let me tell you something. Y'all out here talking about women this and women that. If you're a real man and you understand just what the power of a woman is, see, you on social media talking, but behind closed doors, oh yeah, she run your ass. Yeah.
When a man loves a woman.
Yeah, she runs you. Yeah. I'll tell you something. You can dudes on here talking about all that toughness all they want to. When you go to the doghouse, oh my friend, you go to the doghouse. You don't want to be in the doghouse.
Your keyboard warrior-esque comments don't mean nothing at that point. Sick comes back with Rob Johnson is the embodiment of Dave Chappelle's question, what is a man without paranoia intact?
Well, I'm definitely paranoid and I don't give a fuck. Because I don't care.
Last comment, Rob Johnson needs to drop an R&B comedy album. I support this. I support this statement right here.
Hey, listen, let me tell you something, folks. This is one thing you got to know about me. I'm a very serious person, but I'm serious with some type of comedy with it too. But I'm old school. I can go from serious to very funny to very funny to very serious. But if you guys want to see me do some comedy stuff, go to GS&E on YouTube and Facebook. Listen. I'm dropping the 35-year-old rapper. I'm dropping the 35-year-old rapper series very soon. Very soon I'm dropping. And I'm also on GS&E dropping. I would say probably in the next 3 months. It's been on delay. Who shot the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air from the show? We're gonna find out. Just like who shot Tupac. We're gonna find out. And Biggie, we're gonna find out who shot the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It's going to be very interesting.
I'm a little bit behind on that show. I got to get back to watching that, and I will at some point, guys. We've had one great episode here for now 2 hours. Definitely a good episode.
We've been talking about for 3 hours, Drew.
No, for 2 hours. But the time has flown. The time it does. But we've absolutely crushed it. It's been one great episode, and for the fan interaction, it's definitely made it to where we have gotten this far within this episode. You can check Robb out again on Game Sports and Entertainment, as well as he is one of the pillars for the Legacy Maker Sports Network. Thank you all for tuning in for this.
I'll be on in the hour, Drew. I'll be on at 11:20 tonight on the Rob Johnson Sports Show as well.
Episode 18. Definitely check that out on Legacy Maker Sports Network. For us here, we only have one more thing to check out, and that is one badass outro. For Rob Johnson, I am Drew Willingham. Everybody stay safe out there in these streets.
SIRTOBA Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.